You should probably know why you're doing it and the theory behind it because it kind of explains everything.
Procognito, Get Agile podcast. Theory behind Scrum. Interview with Alex Sloley.
Hi and welcome to Get Agile podcast. We are just after Regional Scrum Gathering Dhaka, and with me is Alex Sloley, who was a keynote speaker in Dhaka. So the very first question is, who is Alex?
I ponder that every day myself as well.
And your wife has to too, I guess.
Yeah. So my name's Alex. I'm an Agile coach from Sydney, Australia. And I guess that's who I am. And I'm an Agile coach. I've had a lot of experiences in my life in different companies being an Agile coach. And for me, Agile is a passion. My wife, Sally Sloley, is also an Agile coach as well. I'm a Scrum Alliance certified enterprise coach. And my wife, Sally, is a Kanban University accredited Kanban trainer. So, and both our kids are certified Scrum Masters. Woohoo! So, Agile, it's like a family business.
Okay, which also leads us to that you're independent consultant, working with different companies.
Yeah, I'm an independent consultant, and that's my company name, Alex Sloley. It's my name.
Oh, that's easy to remember.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
and it's
cool.
alexsloley.com. It makes it really simple.
That's cool. That's cool. And so we decided to look at Scrum, but we'll not look at the Scrum as Scrum, but the theory behind the Scrum. So this is what we just find during the dinner today. So let's go there. So theory behind Scrum.
Yeah, so we were chatting over dinner and we were talking about what we would talk about tonight, right? And I think when I think about topics that I enjoy talking about, sometimes they're the topics that puzzle me. And one of the things that constantly puzzles me is when I see people who are trying to do Agile things and be Agile, and they might be going through the mechanics and going through the motions, but they don't really seem to understand like the theory.
Why?
Yeah, like why? Why am I doing this thing? And it always puzzles me because I'm like, you should probably know why you're doing it and the theory behind it because it kind of explains everything.
It's good. It's a good idea, especially if you go to CEO and say that we want to do this one. Then
right.
Saying that because it's in the Scrum guide, that may not work for all the CEO.
Yeah. So why are you doing it, right?
Yeah. Why should I pay for the Scrum Master, for example? Why should I pay for separate product owner role and all the stuff, right?
Well, it's true for everything. I mean, why would you do anything you don't know why you're doing it?
So what are the whys? I mean, I got I'm calling those Scrum principles. I got my list. So what is your list?
I think when I think about the whys, I always go back to my favorite Deming quote, which is, if you don't understand the theory, then the chances of you doing it wrong, like in practice, you're probably doing it wrong because you don't know the theory behind it. So you got to know the theory behind like just Agile in general, but also like any type of method or framework in Agile. So we were talking specifically about Scrum, but it could be like Kanban or anything like that. So when I think about Scrum, I always go back to the 3 pillars and the 5 values. So transparency, inspection, adaption, and then the values, commitment, focus, openness, respect, and courage.
Cool. So I was always treating values as a separate thing and empiricism as a part of principles. And what you're saying is like you get both.
I think they're the same thing. Like if you're trying to do Scrum and you don't understand that why you're doing it is because you want transparency and therefore inspection and adaption. So it's kind of like they're all melded together. And transparency and inspection and adaption is a virtuous loop. You can't have one without the other one following it, and you got to have all 3, right, to make it worth your while and to make it worth your time.
But you're saying a theory behind this one. So most people, when they get the Scrum guide, there is this inspect, adapt, or whatever inside.
I think they ignore it.
Well, I know. Most people, when I start Scrum training and ask people about the Scrum values, no one knows. Most people don't know. Well, I'm super surprised when someone knows the Scrum values. But the thing is like, what is the theory here? So what do you have in mind when you say, okay, well, a theory behind these things?
Yeah, I think the theory is not only knowing the why, but knowing the principles and the practices that support or are supported by the why.
Okay, can we deep dive into those? So let's giving specific examples. What you have in mind? So what if you think about let's focus on the empiricism first, right? What you have in mind?
You can think about transparency for example, and then start to think about and you got to think about it. Why do we have certain events and accountabilities, and why do we have certain artifacts in Scrum, for example, that are as a result of wanting to achieve transparency, right? So why do we even have a daily Scrum? Because we're trying to make things visible. I can think of many concrete examples in my career where, for example, I can remember a time in about 2011 where we were in a sprint review and I was working at an agency and we were creating mobile applications for clients. And we're in the sprint review and I've coached the team to show the client everything that's happened, the good, the bad, the things that work, the things that don't work. We can get feedback and we can show them how we have trials and tribulations in creating this product. And I remember after that first sprint review I did with that team, the account manager took me aside and said, "What are you doing? You're not supposed to show the client the bad stuff, right? You're supposed to be a perfect team doing great and you're only supposed to show the good stuff." And I'm like, that's not the point of transparency. The whole point of transparency is that you're supposed to be making things visible so that everybody knows what's going on, and so everybody together collectively can make really good decisions.
Although the customer might be pretty surprised at the very first time when he see the bad things, and after the last 2 years, he was there seeing the good things.
Yeah, I think it builds trust actually.
Yeah.
Because if you're courageous enough to show them the bad stuff, they're like, okay, they know and we know that things aren't going perfect. So if you're just faking it and saying everything's perfect, they know you're lying basically, right?
And then they're lying to you that they're okay with what you show them, and
that's right.
And that's how we build trust between us and the customer.
Right, by telling the actual truth.
Which leads me to one situation when the customer of mine was basically showing just a happy path because this was the only thing that was working. And when asked by customer to provide a system, version so they can check it as well, they say okay, we cannot yet do that.
Yeah.
So this kind of transparency. But also when you mentioned the transparency, I just recalled a question from Todd Little you had during your keynote in Dhaka, and he asked okay, why we shouldn't have a Scrum Master and a Product Owner the same person, which for me is because of the transparency, but maybe we should also stop here as well. So your opinion here?
Yeah, I mean I think you can take all of those 3 pillars, those 5 values from Scrum in general, and just kind of intellectually apply them to any event and artifact and accountability in Scrum, and think about what are we trying to achieve, and beyond what are we trying to achieve, how can we actually achieve that? So take those lenses of the 5 values. So for example, you were talking about Todd Little's question during my keynote, right? It was about, can the Scrum Master and the Product Owner be the same person, right? And
the whole question of Scrum training, I believe.
Probably because we encounter it all the time, because I've seen it so many times over my career. I'm sure you have too.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to save on something, then you save on the Scrum Master. So you call Product Owner the Scrum Master, and that's it, right? This happens, right?
Yeah, so one of the things I mentioned to Todd was if you're in that situation for whatever reason, I'm not going to judge you, but make it transparent about what role you're actually playing at that time, right? Hey team, right now I've got the Scrum Master hat on, and hey team, right now I've got the Product Owner hat on. You're just making it transparent what accountability or what role you're playing. And that's just a really easy example of how you would apply that lens to a situation where you're practicing Scrum the best you are able to at that time. Nobody's perfect, right? But if you apply that lens, maybe it helps you understand how to manage that challenge better.
So, which reminds me just one observation is that because we mentioned that we don't have money for hiring a Scrum Master, so we make a product owner Scrum Master. So I've seen so many times a team without a Scrum Master, and at the same time we've seen so many times the team with so many product owners at the same time, right? So you never see the other way around, the team with many Scrum Masters, no product owners.
3 product owners, no Scrum Masters.
Yeah, but the other way around, like how about having a team of 3 Scrum Masters, no product owners? Never seen that before, right?
You might have like people who think they're doing the Scrum Master role. Maybe you would have a team where like you've got an official Scrum Master, but then you've got like the tech lead who's kind of trying to do the Scrum Mastery type things.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think it could happen for sure.
That's good. That's good. No, not just by the name, right?
Yeah. I remember my very first Scrum team at Microsoft, 2007. We didn't have a Scrum Master, so we did the classic thing. We did the rotating Scrum Master role thing. And the rule we had on our team was every person on the team, every developer, had to serve as the Scrum Master for at least 3 sprints. And some of the developers on the team hated it, and they never wanted to do it again. But when I became the Scrum Master, I loved it. And I actually transitioned from the developer role into the Scrum Master role.
Which we used to do, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Most of the people who became the Scrum Master 20 years ago were used to be the developers, which changed over the next 2 decades, I believe.
I agree, yeah. Like, I think all of the, the original gangsters or maybe the second wave, I kind of think of myself as the second wave of Agile. I'm not one of the original people, right?
We're not so old.
Well, we're getting there.
Wow, no, we won't get to the first wave anyway, right? So
it was very common. I think we all kind of started out developer-y, and I think that's becoming less common now.
All right, going back to those. So we talk about empiricism. Let's go to the values also. So you're naming the values as the theory behind Scrum as well. So can we dig into this one?
Yeah, so you were actually surprised that I knew what the values were, the 5 values?
No, I'm not surprised you are, because you are supposed to know, but most of the cases when I go to the training and ask the people, so they know the events, so they know the roles and they know all the stuff, right? The thing is, when the moment you ask people about values in Scrum, they have no idea, because even if they read the values, they're abstract for people, right?
Right.
And, as a consequence of that, it's hard to teach people those values, because just if you show them, they're abstract. But the second consequence is if you don't mention those values sooner or later, then what you get is like a mechanic Scrum, or something I call zombie Scrum. So people do Scrum because they are forced to.
Robot Scrum.
Yeah. Kind of this one, right? So they're forced to doing this one, which is pretty common right now. Forcing people to do Scrum because managers thought so, right?
The mechanics.
Yeah.
I think if you're a healthy team, you should know the mechanics for sure, but you're also reflecting on the values at the same time. So why are we doing this way? Why are we having this event even in the first place? And I think a healthy Scrum team not only understands the theory, because they've been taught or educated about the theory, but they're also reflecting on that theory in real time during the event or whatever it is.
And the experiment with the events, right? Because the moment when you see they're told to have an event, whatever, retro, demo, they call it, review.
Yeah.
And they go and they use the same formula for the 2 years
then they've lost the value.
Yeah, and they don't see the value. And the first question then is like, do we need this meeting? And
Yeah.
often you don't, because the only thing you do is like, artificial conversation. There is no value from this meeting, right?
Well, in a healthy team, you would kind of expect everyone on the team to be engaged in bringing that up.
How often do you see this one? Like, if we forget about the values and we forget about empiricism, how often do you see this one, right?
Yeah.
So you're getting to the beginning of this conversation, like what is the theory behind this one, right?
Yeah. I definitely. Well, you're a Scrum trainer, right? I think it's imperative that every Scrum team and every developer on that Scrum team or multiple Scrum teams understands the theory. They've been taught it properly. I go back to classical like education in like the Greek civilization and stuff like that. They were big on theory, but they then took that theory, understood the theory, and then thought about how does that apply in real life. So they're not two separate things. I think you have to have both at the same time. I often am puzzled by people who say that you only need to know like 10% theory and then like 90% you learn on the job. I actually think that's not balanced. I would say you probably need to, if you're doing it that way, you probably need more theory to understand why you're doing it the way you're doing it. I don't know if it's 50-50, but I don't think it's 10% theory and 90% application or practice.
I mean, again, because Scrum is here for like 30 years by now, it's pretty old. My observation is software developers at least heard about this one, they're using this one.
Yeah.
Often mechanic version, like this is what you said, like a robotic version, but at least the moment you go to the organization, at least in the part of the world I live in, is you get those people already familiar with this one. They may be forgetting about the background, what you mean.
They've forgotten.
Not even sure if that's forgotten is the best word, because to forget you need to know it at the first place.
Okay.
In most cases they haven't heard about this one, right?
Yeah.
So, but the thing is like, they already know all the stories, planning pokers, events, all this stuff. They already know it. They don't know why they do it, because they were, imposed on them often, and someone said, okay, this is a good idea, right?
Yeah.
And we're missing those values, we're missing those principles, right?
Yeah. I was having a conversation with a friend recently, and we were talking about similar concepts, not just about Scrum, but in like organizations, like how they do their ways of working. And it just struck me that even if you had learned about the why of why you're doing things in Scrum, you still might forget. So maybe it's like Scrum amnesia. Okay. But yeah, maybe you never even learned in the first place.
Yeah. Okay. So refresh, not just say one, but refresh the knowledge, right?
Yeah. So there you go. I was doing a session recently with someone, and they asked me, how do you get people to understand why you're doing certain things? And I said it could be just as simple as every single time you start your daily Scrum meeting, you remind everybody at the beginning of the daily Scrum, hey team, we're here today to get together as a team to figure out what's going on and how we can achieve the sprint goal and how we can help each other. Maybe it's just a 30-second thing you do at the start of every daily Scrum, and you do that on a consistent basis until people are like, okay, now I know it, because they probably need to hear it many times, right?
Yeah.
Pretty simple. That'd be one way to approach that challenge without well, okay, here's something I haven't thought of before. You've sparked this in me. Okay. If you can force the mechanics of Scrum on a team, then in theory you could force principles and values, right? Hey team, I need you to be courageous.
Nope, not gonna work.
but it's never going to work.
Yeah,
But you could do that, right?
I mean, no, you can try.
Yeah, you can try.
You can try, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm always saying is, so when I'm explaining if people want to do Scrum, then I'm saying there are two things here. One is do you want to work iteratively, and this is a business decision for the company.
Yeah.
And they want to work as a team, and this is a people decision.
Yeah.
And never figure out how to force people to work as a team.
Right.
So far.
Yeah.
So if people don't want to work as a team, you cannot force them. So we go back to this one. I mean, you can force them to be on the meeting as a zombie, but then you cannot force them to show courage. You cannot force them to work together, right?
So there you go. It's true for both. It's true for the mechanics and the underlying theory as well. You can't force them to know it or understand it or even do it. So I guess we're in a dilemma now, right?
Nope.
Well,
what is your dilemma?
If people will never be willing to understand the theory or they resist it, is that something that all humans will experience and they'll always resist? Well, I guess another way to say it is to reframe it and ask, what causes people to embrace the theory and the principles?
Curiosity.
Curiosity.
Yeah, I believe. I mean, the thing is if you're working if you're working in the framework, whatever, Scrum, who cares? Who cares what?
Yeah.
And you were just taught you need to follow the rules and you don't ask the questions.
Yeah.
Then there is no curiosity and you don't look for the theory you mentioned, right?
Okay.
So you don't look into this one. And I just discovered that we changed the roles in this interview. That's fine.
Yeah. That's fine.
That's fine. That's fine. We're good. So Alex is interviewing Tomek. Anyway. So the thing is the moment people start asking the question, why are we doing this one? Why we're playing poker when I have no idea? Why are we using those story points? Why are we using this stupid template for users? Who cares anyway, right? Yeah, the moment that people start asking the question, then I look for this theory. But it doesn't need to happen, right?
Yeah.
You can assume that there is no option to ask the question. It kind of depends on the organization of people. I get that just, again, in Dhaka, I had a conversation with Kiro, another keynote speakers from the conference. And he said that his first manager told him to question the rules, right? And if you have this kind of manager, then it's more likely that you will start looking for the theory.
Yeah.
So looking for why. But if your manager told you to follow the rules, then the likelihood of looking for whys is smaller.
You've definitely got me thinking about Shuhari now. Putting that aside, I was just reflecting on why I myself personally am so interested in the theory. And you said curiosity, you mentioned curiosity. I actually enjoy understanding the theory intellectually. Like when I understand the why, it satisfies me internally. I'm like, oh, now I know why.
We're doing this.
Right? And now I'm thinking about people who like to experiment and scientists and stuff like that. I'm like, maybe they like to know why. So, okay, I'm just going out on a limb here. If you were on a team and you wanted to spark curiosity, and you mentioned Kiro and his manager asking him to challenge the rules, maybe another way to approach it would be to encourage your team to try experiments. You don't really need to tell them...
Question the rules.
Yeah, just tell them try experiments, and then they'll just naturally develop that curiosity.
Just remind me about the situation when the team was coming and asking, do we need the daily? And I say, try without the daily and see what's happening, right? So you're supposed to follow the rules because it's enforced on you.
Yeah.
But the moment it's not enforced on you, and you try to remove the rules, and you try to question, do we need really this retro? Do we need really this daily? Do we need this planning? Maybe you don't. But the thing is, you often discover when you work as a team, then if you don't talk to each other at least once per day,
Yeah.
usually more often,
Yeah.
then you break it at the end of the 2-week sprint or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And people then discover because they have a chance to experiment, right?
Is it possible they don't discover, like they do the experiment, but they're not aware enough to figure out what happened in the experiment? So
that might be because if there is no value in, let's say, they do review, there is no value in review.
yeah.
Because the review is like reporting to product owner, whatever.
Right.
Often, we've seen this often. And then they try without review. Or they just send PowerPoint to product owner instead of showing PowerPoint to product owner.
Yeah.
There is no value, there is no change without the review, right? So they can figure out that, there is no value in this meeting, which is true because there was no value previously. So right now, without this meeting, nothing has changed, which is true, which is fine, I believe.
Yeah.
Because the question is, okay, how now you get feedback from a real user, not the product owner?
So experimentation exposes value?
That is what you say, I don't know.
I'm thinking about it. I think we're experimenting and reflecting in real time as we have this conversation. And this is partially why I enjoy understanding the theory so much, especially when I find other people who understand the theory really well, and we can have these like theoretical debates. I don't even know if I want to call it a debate, but when you can talk to someone about the theory intellectually and get some true understanding and talk to someone else with a lot of experience, it helps you with your own theoretical understanding. So that's partially why I love going to Agile conferences so much, because I find interesting people who make me think more deeply about things.
Anyway, coming back to the question, do we get to values by experimenting? My opinion,
Yeah.
we don't need to go to those specific 5 values you have in Scrum, right? So you can get any other. I don't know what you feel about this one.
I see a lot of parallels in many different works around value. I'm an AKC, Kanban University AKC, so I definitely look at the...
Can you tell people what is AKC?
Oh, an accredited Kanban consultant.
Yeah.
Yeah, AKC Kanban University.
Because that's not a kind of alcohol you drink here. It's just
No,
make
it's
it
not.
clear.
Yeah, so it's got its own set of principles.
Yeah.
It's got its own set of practices.
Yeah.
And definitely you can, if you're familiar with them, you can find parallels between them and like say Scrum. Or you might look at the Agile Manifesto or the Heart of Agile or anything like that.
And you have a different values there, right? Basically, right?
I definitely think they're maybe reframings or they're related, but they're all, I think, they underpin agility in general. So another example would be like an OODA loop or PDSA or PDCA. They're just reframings of the same thing. When I think about it, ultimately, I think the Scrum Guide expresses it as transparency, inspection, and adaptation. That's how I would ultimately phrase it. And maybe the 5 Scrum values, although they are relevant and applicable to Scrum, maybe there are other values that are relevant and applicable as well.
Should be, I believe. I mean, each of the teams should have their own value, I believe, right?
Yeah.
All right, so to conclude, if people would be more interesting to learn more, if people will ask you about this theory, these principles, those values, where would you send them?
I really love Deming. I actually quoted Deming earlier. I love Deming's work. If you're not familiar with Deming, he's the person that really brought, I'd say, agility to Japan, which then came back later, but definitely Deming's work. When I think about other values, I love...
Slow down. If if you say to people, Deming is like that's pretty broad. One book you would recommend, or one source you would recommend from Deming? Where would you start?
The Deming website. I can't remember it off the top of my head.
But we'll put this under the recording anyway.
Yeah. For sure, I would think about, if you want to get into theory more, The Goal.
Yeah.
And that's one of those books where I had to read like every paragraph like 3 times because it was so deep that the first time I read every paragraph, I didn't really understand.
So I believe that in Scrum we need to mention one also short articles that is called New Product Development Game.
Oh, so yeah, you go back to the new product development game.
When you discover there's a way more than just having a meetings there.
In fact, I learned something new about that from Kiro. Literally like 2 days ago.
Yes.
Right? So I think that's a great example of where...
But you need to share what you have learned before you go into the examples.
I'm trying to remember what it was. What did he say?
You learned that the name Scrum comes from Mazda? One of the companies that was the car making company that was mentioned in the new product development game, and they call it they used the Japanese name for like chit-chatting.
Yeah.
But they said that the Japanese name won't work in West, so they use the Scrum word inside it. But I don't. It was Honda or
I think it was Honda.
Honda City.
It was Honda.
Honda City. So that was Honda City. So this is the case from.
And Kiro learned that at Scrum Tokyo like last year.
Yeah. So if we make it wrong, Kiro, sorry about this one. We sometimes forgot what you have said.
Another great example of where I've learned and deepened my theoretical understanding of something from talking to people like you and Kiro.
All right, and if the people want to learn a little bit more about you, they go to your website, they get your book, which
I make it easy.
We don't have it with us, so we would show it to you.
alexsloley.com.
Yes.
Really easy. That's my name. That's my website.
All right, thanks for the conversation.
Thank you.
And thanks, guys and ladies, for listening to us.
See you, everyone.
To learn more, visit procognita.com/getagile.